That ended there with a gobble, gobble. Welcome into CBS Sports HQ, your football happy hour. Mandy Garrett, Prisco. We are joined by Bryant McFadden this week, stepping in for our Brady Quinn here. We are about to go through Thanksgiving Day games and all of your games for Week 12. So let's start with the first one on Thanksgiving. Bills at Lions, 12:30 Eastern. Bills playing at Ford Field for the second time in 5 days. Lions looking for the first 4-game winning streak since 2016. They were your biggest riser this week, Pete. Now the line has moved a little bit. It was Bills 9. It is now 9 and a hook. The total is 54. You get first say.
By the way, since Brady's not here, we can say he had a losing record last week.
Did he? I don't know, because we took the scoreboard out.
You can go nowhere but up. I'm telling you, he had a losing record last week.
And you?
I had a winning record. So finally, I've finally got a better week than him. I think it's going to ride this week, ride with it again, because I think I'm going to have a good week, and I'm going to ride with the Bills again. I love the Bills last week. It ended up being a push. It should have never been a push the way we picked the game, because they scored a late touchdown. The Omio Mayo, they scored late. This time around, it's not going to come down to that. I think the Lions are bad on defense. They played better lately. Got to give it to them. But that fast track, Josh Allen looks so much better. Moving that game out of the snow in Buffalo is actually an advantage for their offense to play on that fast track. I think they play on it well on it again this game. I'll take Buffalo minus the points.
I'm taking Detroit. I'm taking a team that has really been playing some real good football, especially on the defensive side compared to what they did earlier in the year. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. And this offense has been really balanced. We know how well they can run the football, but Jared Goff has been making plays with his arm as well. And when you transition to the Buffalo Bills, yes, they scored 30-plus points, but Josh Allen didn't have a Josh Allen-like ball game. The connection that we saw earlier in the year clearly is missing right now. They did run the football better against the Cleveland Browns, but offensively, they're not the consistent group that we saw in the first month and a half of the season. So I think when you look at Detroit getting 9 and a hook, if you can buy it up to 10 to kind of give yourself some extra cushion, I would advise doing that. But I really like the Lions in this spot because I believe they can score on the Buffalo Bills defense that hasn't been as dominant as we've seen in weeks past.
B-Mac, I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Is he trying to become the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots? Why do you have a pencil behind him?
Just putting it right there behind him.
Seriously.
Because I'm jotting, I have notes in front of me just in case you happen to say something that I agree with. I may jot it down. So I'm trying to give you some tribute here because usually I don't agree with anything you say, Pete.
Well, that means you're wrong a lot of the time then, B-Mac, and we know that's the case.
Well, I think it's a good
just
one.
In case if you happen to say something that makes sense to me, I may write it down. I might put a parlay involved, but you know the likelihood of that happening, I'm not quite sure.
By the way, B-Mac, the way the Patriots are playing on offense, they might actually hire you over Matt Patricia if you keep that pencil behind your ear.
No question. Only if you would agree to come with me to be a part of the front office decisions.
I'm in. He would do that in a second. He would do that in a second.
You
All right,
bet.
I'm going to take my pin now. We're going to keep rolling through this here. He's just taking this very seriously. We've got Giants and Cowboys, 4:30 Eastern. Of course, Giants. I apologize, B-Mac. You guys have gone through it already. Destroyed the Vikings on Sunday. The Giants, they have a ton of injuries. They had 6 players leave that game with injuries, including Adoree Jackson. He's out for a couple weeks dealing with an MCL sprain. Wando Robinson out for the year with a torn ACL. Cowboys favored by 9 at home, B-Mac, on Turkey Day. The total here, 44 and a hook. What's your play?
Give me the Cowboys. Give me the team that's the most healthiest. Give me the team that's starting to really find their stride. And I hate to say this for all you Giants fans that are watching us, but I think the wheels may come off this truck right now. Granted, you have played some pretty good football, but man, you talked about all the injuries, all the adversity that they're going through, and they're playing against a team that's extremely hot. I love the Cowboys. I think we will once again see another dominating performance from their defense, and their offense is just going to do what they've been doing. Run the football well, utilize Tony Pollard, and Dak Prescott will make timely plays when need be. I love the Dallas Cowboys in this spot. This is one of my guaranteed locks for the weekend of the NFL game starting Thursday night with the Cowboys.
Make it a double lock because I'm in agreement with you, B-Mac. I just think this is a physical mismatch for the Giants. I think that Cowboys defense has really got things going. And what people didn't really pay much attention to the other day because the defense was so dominant was the offensive line was opening up enormous holes. And I think they'll do that in this game as well. I think the Cowboys are starting to ascend to something. I'll take the Cowboys to cover and win this game easily. All
right, we finally got our primetime game, 8:20 Eastern. Patriots at Vikings. This one is very interesting. Of course, you have the Vikings coming off their second largest home loss in franchise history. And we get primetime Kirk Cousins. We love this. 3-5 primetime. 2 of those wins against the Bears. Not really sure if you count him there. He's 0-2 against Bill Belichick. Now, I was listening in earlier. You said the F word when it comes to the Vikings. Are they frauds? I don't know. In this game, they're favored by 3. I also want to mention Christian Jerisan not playing.
You know, I'm going to sit here and say that they're not frauds for right now. I'm going to take
in this game.
In this game, I think that, look, the Patriots' offense is awful. And we'll see more of that coming up in this show, but they were terrible the other day against the Jets. The Vikings haven't been great on defense either. I don't love their scheme. I think they need to mix it up a little more. We talked about that earlier as well. And I'm not buying into Kirk Cousins not having a good day on Thanksgiving in primetime. So I'm going to buck my trend of going against Kirk Cousins in primetime, and I'm going to take the Vikings minus the points.
Voice got a little high there, Pete.
Yeah, you know why? Because I just can't really get behind it that much, but I also can't take Mac Jones in that bad offense. So I'm going to take the Vikings in this game, and I do it reluctantly.
I agree with you, Pete. I can't put any money that I've earned on Mac Jones and the Patriots offense. They are bad. Unfortunately for the Jets, they had Zach Wilson, who was actually playing for the New England Patriots, and that's why the Patriots won that ball game this past Sunday. But I don't trust anything offensively related with the Patriots. And with the Minnesota Vikings, I understand you wanted to call them frauds, right? But I do believe this is a team that has playoff aspirations, and I don't expect to see such a horrible performance once again like we saw against the Cowboys. Hopefully they can protect Kirk Cousins just a little bit better than what they were not able to do against the Cowboys. And defensively, yes, they had a lot of holes against the Dallas Cowboys, but the offense that they're going against, they don't do a good job in protecting Mac Jones. You don't have to worry about any explosive plays. So this should be a get-right opportunity for the Vikings. And if you want to buy it down a half point to 2.5 and a field goal gets you out of the door, I wouldn't be appalled in doing that as well, but give me the Vikings.
Agreement there, agreement with the Cowboys as well. Recapping the 3 games we have got coming up on Thanksgiving Day between Pete and B-Mac there. So we start off on opposite sides when it comes to the Lions at the Bills. Bills favored by 9.5 now at home, but both agree. Lay the points there with the Cowboys. The Giants are riddled with injuries when they come to town, 4:30 Eastern on Thursday, and both like the Vikings to cover the 3 against the Patriots. Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, taking a look at your Sunday slate of 1 Eastern games, at least half of them. We'll say it's the first half of the games we're going to go through here. Bucks, they're rested coming off a bye after their return from Germany. Bears and Jets, 2 quarterbacks going in opposite positions there. We'll get an update on Justin Fields and his shoulder. Falcons Commanders. Is it time to put some respect on the Panthers, maybe not their name, but the Commanders.
Not their name.
Broncos Panthers, we'll find a way to make that game interesting for you. Let's welcome back Pete Prisco, Bryant McFadden. I'm Amanda Guerra. Let's start with Bucks at Browns here. I mentioned Bucks coming off that bye week in Germany. They have now had back-to-back wins for the first time since the beginning of the season. So you got the Browns rushing attack. They're back at home for the first time since Halloween. Final game should be before we see Deshaun Watson. Bucks favored by 3. The total 43 and a hook. B-Mac, what's your play here?
I love the total. I love the under. I love the Buccaneers defense in this spot going against the Cleveland Browns. It's imperative for the Browns to try to run the football because clearly Jacoby Brissett hasn't really been at his best. Running for his life, not having a nice rhythm with his pass catchers. So we've seen some issues with their offensive game plan when they're not running the football. And then when you transition to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yes, their offense, it has a pulse right now, but I don't expect to see an explosion of points, especially knowing that it's going to be pretty cold this weekend in Cleveland. So I think when you look at this total set at 43 and a hook, I see 39 points, I see 40 points, but I don't see anything surpassing this number. So I like the under.
I like the Bucks. I think this is one of those games where we saw the Bucks start getting on a little bit of a roll before the bye. They're getting healthy again. That's the most important thing. They're getting guys back. I don't think Cleveland's really that good on defense. There's going to be opportunities down the field for Tom Brady. And watch out for the Bucks. I said this earlier. I think the Bucks are one of those teams that are going to get on a little bit of a roll. And as guys come back and they get more guys back into the lineup, they're going to look even better and better. And it starts this week. I think, by the way, B-Mac, I like the under too, but I think the Bucks find a way to cover and win this game.
A game I'm not sure where you guys are going to take the under or the over is this next one. Maybe you're not going to make a play at all on the total. Broncos at Panthers. This is not a pretty game. This is why we bet the games to make them interesting. It makes it a little bit better. Broncos have scored more than 20 points only once in the past 6 games. 3 of those games were 10 points or less. We saw the Panthers put up only 3 against the Ravens. I do want to mention this total has slid from 37.5 down to 35.5. Just a whopping number there. Total 2.5 for the Broncos. Pete, what do you think?
You know, I feel sorry for the fans that are going to go to this game. It'll be much like the fans who had to watch the Jets and Patriots get 3-3 for the entire game until a punt return. It's awful. It's hard to watch it. This one's going to be just like that. There's not going to be a lot of points. I love the under in this game, but I really think that there's no way Denver should be laying points to anybody. The way they play on offense, they are awful. And point the finger at Russell Wilson. He deserves a lot of the blame. They changed play callers. They still don't score points. Well, what's the common theme? Russell Wilson. The offensive line isn't any good. We know that. But he needs to play better. He looks like a guy whose career is coming to the end. That's what he looks like. I'm not saying it's coming to the end, but so far that's what he's played like. I'm going to take Carolina here because they are at home. Long trip for the Broncos, and they can't score.
I mean, with line movement with the total, it seems to be they're begging you to take the over, but I do believe the under is the way to go. But in regards to my bet, I got to put my trust in Russell Wilson. This is the last time I'm putting my trust in Russell Wilson because their quarterback play with the Carolina Panthers has just been that bad. So who do you trust or who do you believe in more? Just to be able to make something out of nothing in this ball game, I think Russell Wilson is the go-to guy because you don't have any faith in P.J. Walker or Baker Mayfield or whoever it is they may roll out there at the quarterback position. And oh, by the way, Pete, I do trust the Broncos defense a little better than the Carolina Panthers, especially in the red zone. Yeah. I think seeing that letdown that we saw from the Broncos defense last week against the Raiders won't happen. And oh, by the way, the offense they're going against in Carolina is extremely bad. You talk about 2.5. A field goal gets you out of the door. 3 points. So I got to lay my trust with the Broncos.
B-Mac, this is a Cabo game for the Broncos. You know what that is? They're getting their stuff together and getting ready to go to Cabo.
Getting ready for the offseason.
They're done. They're finished. They're going on the road across country. Thanksgiving weekend is a Cabo day. They're done.
But with that being said, the sense of urgency has to be there from their coaching staff because I understand Nathaniel Hackett is in his first year, but he might not be as safe as many people think. So for him, he better do a great job getting his guys fired up and ready to go because losing to a bad Panthers team might be the last bad drop of production he needs to put on display for him to be on the outside looking in next year, and he can really have a nice vacation in Cabo.
He's been doing a lot of pointing with that thing today.
That's why he has it. Yeah. He is making a point.
Yeah,
he is making a point because so far you guys aren't agreeing yet on these games here. Let's go to the next one. We're looking at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Bears at Jets. All eyes going to be on the quarterbacks in both of these games. In this game, both of the quarterbacks there, you got Justin Fields. We're trying to figure out if he is going to play dislocated his non-throwing shoulder. They're saying day-to-day right now, improved play, still not throwing it really well. Zach Wilson, first time we've seen Robert Saleh say, not really sure if he's going to play. All options are on the table. Pete, would Zach Wilson start in this game?
I don't think he's going to start. I think he played so poorly the other day, and it has nothing to do with what he said after the game, and that doesn't help. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't help. You got to take accountability if you're the starting quarterback of an NFL team. You can't blame everybody else or not accept the blame that you deserve. They didn't score any points. They were terrible. They had 2 yards in the second half. I think they make a change. I think they should make a change. I was a big proponent of keeping him in there, but this team thinks they can make a playoff run. If you think you can make a playoff run, get him out. The other side, Justin Fields, he got hurt running. You got to be careful with that. I know he's an electric runner and he puts a lot of yards up on the board and he's fun to watch, but it's dangerous out there when you're a running quarterback. So you got to be careful with that. If he doesn't play, I think the Jets win behind their defense easily. I think they win behind their defense no matter what, no matter who plays quarterback for them. So I'm going to take the Jets minus the points here.
For me, when it comes to the uncertainty at the quarterback position for both teams, one thing I do know in regards to the Jets, their offense don't score a lot of points. You talk about the total 41 in the hook. So I'm taking the under. And for me, taking the under, I kind of want them to put Zach Wilson in the ball game and allow him to be the starter. Because when he's in the lineup, they don't score any points. You know, if you put White, if you put Flacco, you might see a difference. But right now, understanding and knowing they haven't made a decision with the starting quarterback, I'm taking this under the assumption that Zach Wilson will be the starting quarterback. And when he plays for the Jets, they don't score any points.
No rebuttal? You're good?
I mean, it's just so horrible to watch them play football. And watching their defense on tape, and we'll see some of that when later on we do the spinning top. They are phenomenal on defense. He's building something special there. And you look at that quarterback position, I can't see how the locker room doesn't look at him and say, how do you not take accountability?
Yeah, Jets, who were at one point solidly in that playoff picture, they have now dropped out of it. They've been in the playoffs since 2010. We'll see if they can try to get their way back in. Not really sure the quarterback situation there. All right, one more game to talk about here. We got Falcons at Commanders. Commanders have now won 5 of their last 6 because the Falcons division is so terrible. They are still somewhat in that playoff contention. Commanders by 3.5. The total here, 47 and a hook. B-Mac, we'll start with you.
I love the Commanders.
Oh, 42.
I
it's
love
42,
the
sorry.
Commanders. Yes. I'm taking the Commanders laying 3 and a hook. Offensively, they're starting to find their rhythm. Taylor Heineke is playing pretty good football. They're running the football well, throwing the football. I love Curtis Samuel, the way they're implementing him into the game. Don't forget about Scary Terry. And then defensively, they're getting healthy, which has helped the guys in the secondary. Potentially, it might get Chase Young back. He could be on a pitch count, but just having him in the lineup as an extra pass rusher would do dividends, pay dividends for their defense. I love what I'm seeing from the Commanders right now. You look at that record since week 6, they're 5-1, the best record in the National Football League. They're playing with a lot of confidence. I like the fight that I'm seeing for Atlanta as well. They've done a real good job, Arthur Smith and his staff, in getting his guys to rally and to fight for 4 quarters. But this might be a tall task for the Falcons. So give me the Commanders. I'm high on the Commanders this week.
I'm with you, B-Mac. I think when you look at the only game they lost was to the Vikings, and they should have won that game. I mean, they blew that game at the end, remember? So they are playing much better on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, they're still limited, although they can run it a little bit with Brian Robinson, and Heineke's making some timely throws. I think they're the better team. I think when you look at their defense, it's probably the best unit on the field among the 4 units, which is why I'm going to take the Commanders to win this game and cover the spread. So I like Washington. And by the way, their schedule has been really favorable over the course of this little run. They haven't exactly beat a murderer's row of teams, so it'll be interesting when they actually do play a dominant team, see if they can hold up.
Ending there with some agreement, both taking the Commanders to cover against the Falcons. B-Mac attacking some of the totals there. He likes the under in the Bears at Jets, also Tampa Bay at the Browns as well. On opposite sides, though, when it comes to the Broncos and the Panthers. Your football happy hour here on CBS Sports HQ. Week 12 NFL games on CBS at 1 p.m. Couple interesting things here. You got the Bengals and Titans, of course, 2 teams that started 0-2 have each made significant progress. We're going to update you on Jamar Chase here in just a second. Ravens at Jags. Need to see that Ravens offense get going. And Texans at Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 12 at home against the Texans on Sunday. Welcome back, Pete Prisco and Bryant McFadden. I am Amanda Guerra. All right, Bengals and Titans, both teams kind of looking to keep this momentum going toward the end. Titans have won 7 of their last 8. Bengals have won 6 of their last 8. I do want to mention Jamar Chase. He's been dealing with hip injury. He is back at practice this week, easing into it. Zach Taylor wouldn't say anything about Sunday, saying, look, we're just going to take it day to day right now. Bengals favored by 1.5 in this one. The total 42 and a hook. Titans fans, Pete, feel like they're getting disrespected in Vegas. What do you say?
Well, they probably are getting a little disrespected in Vegas. But I think a lot of people look at what happened last year in the postseason, and the Bengals went in there and won that game. And, you know, the Titans have some proving to do. They've always been that team that's been really good during the regular season and really good at times, and they've had moments where they just haven't been able to throw the ball well enough. Ryan Tannehill threw the ball great the other night against Green Bay. I think he's going to be able to make some throws in this game. I think when you look at who they are, they're a physical, tough team, much like their coach. I mean, the coach was a physical, tough player. He's one of those guys. They've taken on his personality. We know Henry will run the ball. The Bengals haven't been great on defense. I think this might end up being a game that gets a little bit loose. And so for that reason, I'm going to take the Titans and Derrick Henry to win the home game against the Bengals and get a little bit of revenge.
Win.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the graphic right there. As an underdog, Mike Vrabel has been really good in cashing in. Not to mention what they've been able to do since week 3. You see there on the graphic, 8-0 ATS. What else do you need to see based on the betting numbers and also, too, what your eye tells you? So think about the Tennessee Titans. You don't know how they win ball games, but when you look at the scoreboard at the end of the ball game, they have more points than their opponents. they make the opposing teams play their type of football. And a lot of teams can't adapt and make that type of adjustment. You talk about the physical nature. They do so on both sides of the ball. I love their defense. By the way they rush the passer. Hopefully they can get Bud Dupree back in the lineup, which will help their chances in putting pressure on Joe Burrow. And just offensively, Derrick Henry, play action, utilizing the tight ends. And of course, Treylon Burks is now starting to wake up and really provide some sparks for their offense as well. Ryan Tannehill just had to play Ryan Tannehill football. Rely and lean on Derrick Henry and be smart with the football, so they should be okay, especially being at home. I like the Titans.
If they do win, maybe they'll get a little bit more for respect from the odds makers.
They always play that card, though. And you know what?
You have to have a card to play like that.
You know what? The truth be known is they don't ever get the respect they deserve. They really don't. They're always around. They're always tough. They're always physical, and they don't get the respect they deserve because they're not pretty.
So it's an okay card to play.
It is okay.
All right, let's talk about Texans at Dolphins here. Dolphins haven't been favored in a game by more than 11 points since 2003. They are in this one. They are favored by 12. The total is 46. They are also rested, coming off a bye. What do you think about the Dolphins hosting the Texans?
They are coming off the bye. I just hope they didn't lose any of their offensive, firepower or offensive sync. They were in sync. Yeah, Tua has fire in the belly. I was wrong about that. I admitted I was wrong. No, that's a long time ago. But he's been playing great. The offense has been playing great. The Texans have not. They're a bad team. They're talking about potential quarterback change, which would be interesting if they did do that. They have no life on offense. The defense, is kind of feisty and tough at times, but this is a bad matchup for the Texans. Again, I always call these games, this one might be another Cabo game because I don't see how they're going to be focused on a trip to Miami in the Thanksgiving weekend. Dolphins blow them out. They win by...
Excited to be in Miami.
Yeah, but I'd rather be in Cabo relaxing instead of being in,
playing football.
They have curfew. They don't like curfew when you're in Miami. They wouldn't have curfew in Cabo. So I'm going to take the Dolphins to blow them out here.
I agree with you. The Dolphins have everything going for them. They have a lot to play for. It's almost about time for the Houston Texans to start getting ready for the draft and trying to figure out where they will be slotted draft time.
Well, right now, B-Mac, right now they'd be 1-7 because they have the Browns pick, too.
Exactly. So if you're the Houston Texans, we know there's no tanking involved in NFL play, right? But heck, where you are right now, I don't see them getting any better because even when they try to win, they don't win. So me personally, going out and trying to put forth the effort, I expect to see that from Lovie Smith and his crew. But they don't have enough. The Dolphins offensively, very, very explosive. And oh, by the way, this is a great get-right opportunity for the Dolphins defense, knowing that they have Chubb, who's been a part of the team for a few weeks now. He should be more acclimated to what they're doing defensively. So this should be a runaway game for the Miami Dolphins. I agree with you, Pete. Give me the Dolphins lane 12.
And the Texans' schedule doesn't get any better. Hosting the Browns, we'll see if Deshaun Watson's back. Then Cowboys, Chiefs, and Titans after that for the Texans right now.
Lose them all. You're better off.
1-7 right now, sitting at 1-7 in that draft. All right, you got the 7-3 Ravens at the 3-7 Jags. Ravens still holding on to first place in the AFC North. They are in a 4-game winning streak, but that offense has been looking very sluggish. We're starting to see improvement from Trevor Lawrence. Ravens favored by 4. The total is 44. What do you think, B-Mac?
I'm taking the total. I'm taking the under. I don't know what's going on with Baltimore's offense, but they've been bad. Lamar Jackson is not looking like Lamar Jackson that we saw in the first half of the season. Of course, injuries at the running back position has really hampered that production. Now they're dealing with some injuries on the offensive line. I love the defense. What we saw from their defense last week against the Carolina Panthers is what I expect to see from here on out, and that's why I'm pushing the under. In regards to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have become a bunch that has been reliant on Travis Etienne, and I'm okay with that. But one thing that does in regards to attacking the under, that utilizes the clock, and you take the football away from Trevor Lawrence, who's been a bit turnover prone, especially in the red zone. So I think both defenses will have a step above their offenses. So I love the total and I love the under.
Yeah, I'm on Jacksonville here. I think they're going to hang around in the game. All their games are close games. They've played so many close games. They haven't been blown out of any. In fact, B-Mac, how about this? They have a better point differential than the Vikings. That's amazing when you think about it. They've been competitive in their games. You mentioned the Ravens offense. It's been really hard to watch. The defense is getting better. And that's the one concern if you're Jacksonville. But I also think Trevor Lawrence is getting better. So I'll take Jacksonville. I think the Ravens win the game, but you give me more than the field goal, I'll take the Giants.
Would you take
the Jaguars.
Would you take the under as well?
I would take
44?
the under. I would take the under as well. I like B-Mac's pick.
We'll call it a lock unity.
Yeah, lock unity.
All right, let's recap what they've got here for our 1 p.m. games on CBS. A lot of agreement. Both like the Titans to cover. They both like the Dolphins to cover. The 12 at home against the Texans. B-Mac really likes the under with Ravens visiting Jacksonville. Pete likes the Jags to cover the 4. Thanksgiving week, Thanksgiving weekend, at the top of your list, not shopping, not buying anything. I don't even know if people buy things anymore after Thanksgiving. It should just be football, right?
Well, you can do it online.
Yeah, exactly. No reason to leave your home at all for the next week or so. Take a look at games we got coming up in the afternoon. Are the 49ers now looking like the best team in the NFC? Raiders at Seahawks. Seahawks coming off a bye. We'll see if they're a little bit rested, get things going back again against the Raiders there. And why Pete Prisco says he is never betting the Rams ever again. Ever, ever.
By the way, online shopping is a great thing for somebody like me because you don't have to go be around people. That's a wonderful thing.
You don't like being around people? You don't like being
Grinch.
here?
Yeah. B-Mac agreed, right? He agreed.
No, he called you a Grinch.
A Grinch?
Grinch.
You don't ever make your way out to anywhere to go buy anything, B-Mac. I know you. Forget about that.
I mean, I like just being around people, unlike you, Grinch.
Yeah, that makes me the Grinch?
This is true.
No.
Until you get to the Super Bowl and you get to hang out with B-Mac and I for like 8 days straight or something like that.
People.
We're going to have a segment with you where instead of mean tweets, it's just you being a Grinch. Let's move on here. 4 p.m. games you got coming up this Sunday. Chargers at Cardinals. You get 2 very underachieving teams. The Cardinals still working for a wild card spot. Pete, I thought it was interesting in your article, your power rankings, you started throwing questions out there about Cliff Kingsbury. Do we start worrying about his job going into this Chargers favored by 3.5?
Well, let's put it this way. If he didn't get the extension before the season, he'd be done.
Yep.
I mean, that's the fact. And I think Steve Keim, the general manager, if he didn't get his extension before the season, he'd be done. Kyler Murray, they gave him an extension. They have no choice now. They're stuck with him. So I do think there's still a chance that the ownership looks at how ticket sales go. That's the one thing people don't realize. Sure, it's a lot of money to eat if you fire the coach and then you got to pay another one. But it's also a lot of money if season ticket renewals do not get renewed. And if they don't, then you start losing a lot of money that way. So also concessions and all the money you get from the local ads and everything, it goes down. So I think if they don't win out the rest of the way and make the postseason, I think he's in big trouble. This is not a game they're going to win. I thought they were terrible on Monday night. I think their defense is struggling. The Chargers look better on offense. Justin Herbert threw the ball down the field. That was reason to celebrate. They will do it here too. I'll take the Chargers.
I'm taking the Chargers as well. I think just knowing that Keenan Allen will at least be in the lineup once again will really help Justin Herbert in becoming more productive, consistent. We saw that, not to mention the relationship he had to establish with Palmer. You still got Eckler as well, who's been doing a real good job. And then when you transition to the Arizona Cardinals, we don't know if their quarterback will be in the lineup just yet. Kyler Murray. This team can't protect. They don't run the football. They don't run the football well at all. And defensively, they just have a lot of holes. So if you're Justin Herbert, if you're the talent that we all believe you are, you find a way to win. And not just about winning, you find a way to cover. And they've been covering pretty well this year, 7-3 ATS. I got to take the Chargers because they still have a lot to play for. They have playoffs aspirations, and I think they have a good shot in trying to get into the tournament. So this will be a huge, wonderful step for them to try to get close to that goal.
Right now on the outside looking in, but just barely. Also at 4 p.m., you get Raiders at Seahawks here. We saw the Raiders beat the Broncos in overtime. They still got the win there, so that's good. Seahawks losing to the Bucs in Germany. They have now had a bye week. They're rested. They're favored at home by 3.5. The total 47 in a hook. Who do you like here?
A big step forward for the Raiders. The quarterback didn't cry after the game. That's always a good step in the right direction. I mean,
one time.
But you can't be whimpering.
We saw Derek Carr show emotion.
Yeah, no, he showed it before. This time he let the tears go. That was like an ocean of tears. It was amazing how many tears came out.
Do you have a play in the game? Do you have a play?
Yeah, I have a play. I'm going to take the team that doesn't cry after a game, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're going to be able to handle this Raiders team. That Raiders defense has issues. The Seattle offense coming off a bye. They were putting up big numbers. I think that continues here. I'll take Seattle minus the points.
I'm taking the Raiders. I'm taking the Raiders because I really saw growth from their defense. Max Crosby got things going defensively. They're going to get a heavy dose of the run. Kenneth Walker. But get this, Josh Jacobs is looking like the guy who wore number 8 at Alabama over the last few weeks. He's been doing a real good job of running the football. And they finally found a way to get Davante Adams more involved. Moving him around throughout the offensive scheme has been wonderful. He lines up everywhere a wide receiver can line up. And now the relationship has been well documented between Derek Carr and Davante Adams. So I think the Seahawks will win this game outright. But I think it will be a close game. So give me the team that's getting points. The Raiders, 3.5.
Looking ahead at the next one, producer Jack, you said that the Rams waived Darrell Henderson, correct? That's what we're going with? All right,
Wow.
Let's talk about the Rams and the Chiefs here. So the Chiefs sitting on top of the AFC. Pete, you said you would never, ever, ever bet the Rams. Is this one of the biggest Super Bowl hangovers that we've seen, and what is this team doing?
Yes.
Chiefs are favored by 14.5 in this game.
Okay, anybody who's ever been hungover, not that I ever have been, but if you have, multiply it by 50. That's what the Rams are having right now. I mean, there's nothing that can fix it. Nothing. You can't drink Pedialyte. You can't throw 14 aspirin in your body. You can't sweat it out in the sauna. You're not getting over it. They're hung over as hell, and it isn't going away. This team stinks right now. The offensive line is terrible. They can't protect. They've had 9 different lines start this season. Cooper Kupp's not there. Matt Stafford has a concussion. I wouldn't play him. This team is bad. They're going to get blown out. The defense is starting to come apart. This is going to be ugly. The Chiefs blow them out. They win by 23-25 in this game. This will be bad. And it's sad, but you know what? Kudos to the Rams. You sold your soul and you won it. It worked.
Yo, Pete, for a guy who claimed to never be hungover, you know all the remedies to get right.
Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink, yeah. But outside of that tale that you just told all of us, you told some truth. I agree with you. Kansas City is the way to go. The hottest quarterback in the National Football League, the hottest play callers with Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid. Defensively, this is a great opportunity for their defense to dominate at home. The Rams are going in the wrong direction. They're one of the worst teams in the National Football League. Get this. And they just won a championship some months ago. No Cooper Kupp, no life. When he's not in the lineup, they have no life offensively. And defensively, now they're playing bad football as well. And Pat Mahomes is the wrong guy you want to have bad football going against. So give me Kansas City Chiefs very, very big.
Saints at 49ers. 49ers getting right at the right time. They looked great down in Mexico. Granted, they were going up against the Cardinals, who decided not to really show up for that game. The Saints are looking better with Andy Dalton. Sprinkle a little Taysom Hill in there. Seems to be working for them now. 49ers, though, favored by 8 in this one. The total 42.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints here. And the reason I'm going to take the Saints is I think this number is a little bloated because of what we saw with the 49ers on Monday night. Look, the 49ers were great. Don't get me wrong. And I love what they've done with all their weapons on offense. I think their defense can get after the quarterback a little bit. But I think the Saints' defense is going to hang around in this one. They've had a lot of injuries on that side of the ball, which has impacted them, but they're not as bad as they've looked at times. I think they hang around. Andy Dalton, you mentioned he played well last week. He'll play well here. And I think there's just a little bit of a letdown for the 49ers. Short week, I'll take the Saints.
Andy Dalton against the 49ers defense. Look at this graphic right here, Pete. They're the only team that have yet to cover on the road. That's the New Orleans Saints. Remember the last time we saw the Saints on a big stage on the road against Arizona? He was throwing interceptions left and right. Give me San Francisco. Give me the 49ers. Defensively, they're playing some high-level football. Even though they're not fully healthy, especially on the defensive line, they still give you dominating-like performances. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, that's the kicker. If Jimmy Garoppolo can continue to play smart, sound football and just utilize the guys that are surrounding him, they're going to do big-time numbers against the Saints. It was a good feel-good story for the Saints, beating a very, very bad team who we all would agree with that the Rams, they're bad. They're one of the worst teams in the National Football League. But this is a different animal they're facing off against. And they have to be on the road. Give me the San Francisco 49ers extremely big, covering this 8 points.
Opposite sides there, opposite sides with the game before that. One agreement as we recap the 4 p.m. games between B-Mac and Pete Prisco here. They both like the Chargers to cover. Other than that, B-Mac going with the Raiders, Pete going with the Seahawks. B-Mac likes the 49ers at home. Pete, some belief in the Saints to at least cover what he says is an inflated number. Primetime games, Week 12 of the NFL. You got the Packers at the Eagles at the beginning of the season. This is probably a much better matchup. Actually, we probably thought it was going to be flipped with what these two teams are performing like now. Then you got the Steelers at the Colts there. Let's find out where Pete is on the Packers right now. Pete Prisco, B-Mac. I'm Amanda Guerra here. Primetime Week 12 picks. So Packers at Eagles. Eagles comeback win over the Colts. Really shouldn't have been down, but then they were. Came back fine. Okay. You buried the Packers in the backyard. last week, maybe like some life support, come circle around the bed, say some prayers, see how his team's going to be. Where are they now?
Oh, they were in the hole, and they got back out of it.
Okay.
I mean, they were getting dirt thrown on them, came back out. And now they're back in, they're getting dirt thrown on them again.
Are we keeping them there?
Yeah, I said the week before, I felt like the guy in Goodfellas where you had to go dig up the body. That's what it was. I dug up the Packers. Well, now they're back in again. And because they're done. They're finished. They're over. But they're going to hang around in this game. This number's way too big. 7 points. I know Rodgers didn't play well last week. I think he's going to respond here. Remember, 2 weeks ago they beat the Cowboys, the same Cowboys team that went to Minnesota and just dominated the Vikings. 2 weeks ago, the Packers came from 14 down and won that game. So there is something there, and it's not like the Eagles are blowing people away. They lost at home to the Commanders the last time. They should have lost to the Colts last week. I'll take Green Bay and the points. But as far as the playoffs, Packers are done. Done.
Yeah, I got to take the Philadelphia Eagles, Pete. I think understanding and knowing what has really hampered some of their defensive production, they've really added some bodies, bringing Sue, bringing Joseph in. I think those guys will play a lot in this ball game against the Green Bay Packers. And knowing Green Bay, they want to run the football. And right now, I don't trust anything defensively related with the Packers. I think this is an opportunity for Jalen Hurts and his crew to do big-time numbers. And they're back at home. The link is going to be fired up. Given, 7 points, I really love the Eagles in this spot.
BMAC, let's talk about your former team. You got the Steelers at Colts this week in Pete's Power Rankings. He said he was encouraged by the play of Kenny Pickett. We saw the Colts get ahead of the Eagles, as we just mentioned, gave it up there. Colts are favored in this one by 3, the total 39, BMAC.
Yeah, give me the Pittsburgh Steelers getting 3 points. Mike Tomlin, prime. Wait a minute. You didn't even allow me to get into my statement, my argument, and why I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers so I can sway you. And you are with me as well. But you know what? Can I finish?
Yes.
Can I finish?
Yes.
Mike Tomlin, prime time, has been almost a lock. Yes, they lost against the Cincinnati Bengals, but we saw some offensive production. We saw a sense of urgency. We saw an offense that can put points on the scoreboard. I think we see some of those same similarities from the Cincinnati Bengals ball game in the Monday night affair with the Indianapolis Colts. Not to mention defensively, they gave up some points, but they made some things happen. Just having TJ Watt in the lineup does something to their defense where they just perform a little better. Najee Harris, surface. George Pickens, surface. You look at Kenny Pickett, he made some timely plays. I think this is going to be an ugly, ugly ball game, by the way. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. But when you factor that into the equation, I always like to side with the team that's getting points.
I'm going to go with you, B-Mac. I think the Steelers are going to cover this number. I like what I've seen from them. I thought Kenny Pickett was going to be a good player when he came out of the draft. I still think that, and he's getting better and better by the week. The Colts don't scare anybody. They're not a great team. They scared the Eagles last week for a little bit, though. And Jeff Saturday's done a nice job, but I'm going to take the Steelers to cover this number. I don't know if they win the game, but it's going to be really tight. So
despite all the flack that you give BMAC, we're going with the Vikings this week, and we're going with the Steelers.
Well, he picks them every week.
Exactly.
I know, but you're there this week.
I am there.
Recapping primetime games Sunday night, you got Packers at Eagles. Opposite sides of that one, BMAC laying the points with the Eagles, Pete taking the points with the Packers there, and both like the Steelers to cover the 3 on the road against the Colts. It is time for Pete and BMAC's best bet of the week. BMAC, you are not always with us, so you get to go first.
Washington, give me the Commanders. That spread is 3.5, 4 points, I think it is.
3.5.
I love Washington in this spot, 3 in the hook, playing some real inspired football. Playing against Atlanta has been fighting as well, but right now, Washington really has found their stride. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They have really been balling, especially adding Taylor Heineke into the lineup. We've seen a difference in production offensively. He adds juice to their team. You know what I mean? Some extra energy. And like I said, they might get Chase Young back into the fold. So that defensive front might get stronger. And that would be huge in this particular matchup against the Falcons. So this is my best bet. Give me the Commanders to cover.
You better be good on this because it counts twice. The best bet counts twice.
I'm okay.
You're okay?
I'm confident.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, just checking. My best bet is the Kansas City Chiefs. I hate laying big numbers like this, but I see this game being 35-10, 33-10. I can't imagine the Rams scoring much more than that with the offense the way it's constructed right now. And defensively, they've had issues lately. If Andy Dalton carved them up, what's Patrick Mahomes going to do to them? I'll take the Chiefs minus the point.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.